Started, and I just started recording. So welcome everyone. My name is Shannon Grieb. I am the VP of Marketing and Communications at the Philadelphia Protestant Home. Can everyone see the screen with the top 10 questions to ask?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
Great. Well, welcome. So as I just mentioned, I also record this session and I'll make sure to email this out to you, the link to the video. And just to let you know also that we are open for visits. So when you are ready to visit, I will definitely be able to schedule that. So what I'm going to do when I present, I am going to mute everyone so that way we don't have any background noises. And if you have any questions during the presentation, write them down and then I will unmute everyone at the end and then we can have a question and answer series. I find that to be the easiest. So I'm going to start and I'm going to mute everyone now. And then you will have plenty of time when I'm done to ask any question that you would like. Okay, so let's get started. Again, my name is Shannon Grieb. Today, I'm going to certainly talk to you about the Philadelphia Protestant Home, or PPH, as we're referred to, and then tell you over the course of my 25 plus years in this industry, I have accumulated lots of great tips and things to look for when people go to visit communities. A lot of people visit more than one community, which I always recommend when you're doing your research. And there are certain things you should look for and that you should ask when you are visiting a community. But before we begin, I do say a good piece of advice is when you are looking for a place to move, a senior living community, it is always best to start looking at least 1 year prior. Of course, that doesn't always work out. Sometimes people make a quicker move and have a quicker decision. However, if you have the time, even if it's 3 or 4 years before you're ready to move, it's never too early to start looking. Some communities have a waiting list. PPH has a waiting list for some of our larger 2-bedrooms, but it is always a good idea. So that way, when you are ready, you have plenty of time to plan and you're not in an emergency situation. And as I said, that timing could change. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm 5 years away, I'm 4 years away. And then something happens in your life where you're looking to make a move much sooner. And I always say visit at least 3 communities if you can. Some people that know us well, they say, no, I'm coming to PPH. I don't want to look at any other community. I won't argue with you. But if you are not sure of where you want to live, maybe you have family or people you know in different locations, try to take a look at more than one community. Sometimes that helps you, even if your heart is set on one community, it can confirm that if you visit other communities. So the Philadelphia Protestant Home, we have been around for over 130 years, hard to believe. We began in 1889, and it originally started out with Protestant ministers looking for housing and care for their aging parishioners. So fast forward 130 years later, we have all religions, all backgrounds. We don't have any affiliation with a certain religion or church, although we have historically kept that Philadelphia Protestant Home name. We offer vibrant living, independent living for those that are 62 years of age or older. However, as a continuing care retirement community, which we are, we do offer different what is called levels of care as you age. And that really is the big benefit of living in a community like PPH. You can move in while you're independent, and then as you age, if and when you need more care, you don't have to worry about moving somewhere else. Everything is right here, which is great. Sometimes people stay in their home a little bit longer and they bypass independent living, which is okay. That's something that some people choose to do. You can also move directly into our personal care or nursing care if that's the case. Our independent living is situated in 3 different buildings. We have 253 independent apartments, and this is one of our independent apartment buildings. We have a range of sizes and layouts. We have 11 floor plans in all. ranging from studios, 1 bedrooms, all the way up to very large 2 bedroom dens with 2 bathrooms. So a lot of different styles. Some have patios, balconies. Happy to send anyone information. And when I unmute everyone, we can talk about who may want information sent to them or who may want to come and visit. And as a nonprofit community, we do have a mission statement, and our mission is to provide a caring senior living community that affords its residents the opportunity to live their highest possible quality of life. And as a not-for-profit, which we'll talk about, all of our income and revenue goes right back into the community. It gets reinvested. So before we go into the top 10 questions to ask, just as important as asking questions, when you go to visit a community, it's just as important to observe. So while the community representative is showing you around and talking to you about the community, even when you pull onto the campus, when you pull into the driveway, take a look around. Keep this in mind. Were you greeted pleasantly? Do the people working there, really, does that give you an indication that that's somewhere where you'd like to live? Was the main entrance to the community easy to find? So let's say you get there, you park, hopefully someone directed you where to park, or it's clear with signage. Did you know where to go to get into the main entrance? And once you get into the main entrance, is there a receptionist or someone there to greet you, to say hello to you? Are they smiling? Even though we're all still wearing masks now, you can tell when someone is smiling behind that mask. Do you see residents and staff interacting? That is really important to note when you're sitting there waiting for that community representative to arrive. Once you've arrived, you can see if residents and staff are interacting, and how does that interaction look? Were you taken to a comfortable private space to talk to the community representative? It is so important before you start touring the community and looking around, you want to have some time to sit in a private, comfortable location with that community representative to ask the questions that you have. And hopefully that community representative isn't doing all the talking. They should be listening. They should be listening to your questions, finding out what you want to see, what information that you're there looking for. If you don't care about the pool or exercise, you don't need to hear 15 minutes about the fitness program. So they should be listening to you. It's your visit, and they should be tailoring that visit to you. Now, let's jump right into the questions. Question 1, are you nonprofit or for-profit? There is no wrong answer here. Some communities are not-for-profit, some are for-profit. Basically, what a not-for-profit community means is that there are no shareholders. So the community is not looking to make a profit to share with stakeholders. They have a volunteer board of directors, typically. A for-profit is just what it sounds like. They're taking the revenue that they make, and someone is making a profit off of it, whether it's shareholders or other people invested in the community and the business. PPH, the Philadelphia Protestant Home, is a not-for-profit community. So that means all of the entry fees and monthly fees and the revenue go back into the community to either operate it, to put money aside, so that way we have a buffer to operate the community, and to reinvest it. So things like new roofs, enhancements to the community, things that need to be done, they get reinvested right into the community. And we do have a board, a volunteer board of directors. It can be anywhere from 13 to 17 members. They are community members, community leaders, and they come in and they're basically our president and CEO's boss. So they don't do the day-to-day operations, but they help to oversee how PPH is operating. So questions again, if it is a not-for-profit, do you have a board of directors? Do you have any residents on your board of directors? What is the background? At PPH, we have board members that have a healthcare background, finance background, religious background. So we have a varying amount of people on our board that can help to contribute to the overall community. I can say a big difference with a not-for-profit community is the main line, our mission-driven type of community. The main line for us is, or the bottom line rather, is customer service, not profit. So we do focus on customer service. We're not looking to make a profit for any outside organization. Question 2, can you share information about your staff retention? This is important, especially in the higher management positions. Often in communities, it's not uncommon to see a higher amount of turnover in staff in dining, because a lot of the dining staff tend to be local high school kids, younger people that use that as a sort of a starter job. But you want to be sure that the management positions, the president and CEO, executive director, VP of finance, some of those higher positions, director of nursing, you want to make sure you're not seeing a lot of turnover there. You want to see some longevity in those positions and the staff in general. So it's important to know that staff turnover is low. So when you're asking any of these questions, these top 10 questions, the ones that I have chosen, that community representative should know these off the top of his or her head. These aren't complicated questions, and these are things that people should know that are representing the community. The community should also be able to give you longevity. How many employees have been there over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The picture here is our 20-year club. All of these employees have been at PPH at least 20 years, but we have 10, 20, 30, and 40-year club members here, which is hard to believe. And I can tell you, if you're not getting a clear, direct answer, that's a red flag, definitely. Question 3, what is included in the monthly fee? You should also be able to get written material when you're visiting that has all of this outlined. Most of your day-to-day living expenses should be included when you're looking at a community. Those are things like utilities, some sort of meal plan, typically maintenance, upkeep, meal plan, things that happen in the community, like the fitness center, activities, trips, transportation. Day-to-day expenses should be included. Some communities, though, do unbundle, what's called unbundle services, which means they can advertise a lower fee. I always think of that as, when you go to buy a car, the price seems low, but do you want a steering wheel? That's extra. So if a community has a really low price and you ask, well, what's included in that price? Make sure that you're getting a clear picture of what is included in that fee, because it can be misleading. It can be more expensive than what your budget allows. Question 4, what happens if I run out of money? This is probably my number one, I should have put this as number one, most important question. Most nonprofit communities have some sort of benevolent care, which PPH does. It doesn't mean that it's subsidized housing where the government is subsidizing it. What it means is that you do have to qualify to move in. There is criteria. And at PPH, we have a free application that you can fill out to get a sense if you would be approved. So we're looking that you're able to pay the entry and monthly fee and to be able to pay for some time if you need more care in the future. What happens is, if you need more care than is typical or that is anticipated and you do outlive your resources, PPH does have what's called a benevolent care fund that would help to subsidize and pay for your care. So that means as long as you didn't give away all the money that you said you had when you moved in, you would not be asked to leave if you run out of money. And it helps those that outlive their resources. We do have a development department, fund development department, that raises money, and we give out anywhere between $500,000 and $600,000 a year here in benevolent care. So that is something that's important. Not a lot of for-profit communities have that situation. So that is something that you definitely want to ask. Question 5, what types of fitness and wellness opportunities are available? To me, that's really important. And fitness and wellness doesn't mean that you're going to go down to the fitness center and lift weights or do chest presses or run a mile. But you want to know that wellness, preventative wellness, different types of programs are available in the community and that it is a top priority. That can be educational events about nutrition, about different types of exercise that can help people with arthritis or people with joint replacements. But you want to know that the community has really an investment in wellness to help their residents, live their best lives and to stay well, to stay independent as long as possible. You should see the fitness areas during your visit. Again, we're not saying that everyone's going to be out in the gym all the time, but it's nice to know that you have a staff there and facilities where you could get fit if you wanted to. You could maintain your wellness. PPH is a beautiful fitness center, great equipment. I can speak personally. Employees can be members as well, and I work out there. But they also have a heated indoor pool. And sometimes that's nice for residents as well to exercise that way. But that is something that is important. You want to make sure that where you're moving takes fitness and wellness to heart and helps residents to achieve wellness. Question 6, do you have entry fees? So if you've been looking around at communities like PPH, continuing care retirement community, you'll find that the pricing structure includes something called an entry fee. And what that is an upfront fee that you pay when you move in. So what does that fee cover? That fee covers future care, again, guarantees you future care here at PPH. But basically that money goes in and it helps to upkeep the community, and it helps us in the future to fund residents that may also have outlived their resources. Now, with communities with entry fees, the entry fees here at PPH are pretty low compared to other communities that I know of in the area, some that I've even worked for. So some communities with their entry fees have different refund policies. So if a community does have an entry fee, what are the options for refunds? Here at PPH, we have 100% refundable for the first 6 months. So that means if you move in, you change your mind, God forbid something happens with your health and you need to move to our personal care or nursing care, you move out, you pass away, it's 100% refundable. After that 6 months, it's not refundable. Each community has a different type of refundable policy. So that is something you want to ask. Some communities offer no refund after 30 days. Some people offer a declining refund over a period of years. And some have something called a 90 or 50% refundable policy where you pay more upfront, but then you could always get a certain amount back in the future or to your estate. So those, that's an important question. Number one, most communities do have an entry fee like PPH. There are a few that do not. And if you do, what are the refund policies? It's good to know that up front. Question 7. How is a resident able to provide feedback? I think that is really important because once you move in, this entire community is your home. So you want to be sure that if there's something you're not happy about, or if there's an idea you have that you think will make the community better, is there a way that you can make your voice be heard? So is there a resident government with elected officials? We do have a resident association here at PPH. How often does the management team have meetings with residents? I can tell you here at PPH, we are a single site community, meaning that we don't have any other locations. We're just here, just one PPH. Our president and CEO was on campus, and all of our upper management team, they're here every day. So residents, and we all have an open door policy. If you have any questions, concerns, you can always speak to that person directly. In addition, our resident government also is, they have representation with our board of directors. And then annually, we have what we call floor meetings. And we just finished those up this year, where we meet with each group on each floor of every apartment building. And we give them basically an update on everything that's happening. And that's a great opportunity for questions and answers as well. Now, for a community that might be part of a larger organization like the ACTS communities, Erickson communities, there are typically communities and they have an executive director with a corporate office somewhere off-site. So that's what you want to find out. If you're moving into a community that's part of a larger organization, how are you represented as a resident? And how can you speak to someone if you're unhappy or if you have a question or suggestion? Question 8, and I already covered some of this. Are you a single site or do you have other locations? For some people, being in a single site is important. Again, for reasons I've mentioned, you have all of the management team right in the same community. You're a little of a smaller organization, so we have about 500 residents total that live here at PPH and all of our levels of care. So some people like that smaller feel. Other people like to be a part of a larger organization, knowing that they have, 20 communities throughout the East Coast or across the country. So if it is part of a multi-site, are the finances separate or are they all tied together? This may be important to you to know that, if you're paying an entry fee and monthly fee and another community in another state that's affiliated with your community, they could possibly jeopardize your community's financial stability. So those are important questions. Again, each organization is different. I don't know the answers to all of them, but these are good questions for you to ask. Question 9, what is your, I jumped ahead. What is your current waiting list? So it is important to know when you're looking at a community, once you get a feel for where you want to live and the size or type of apartment that you want to find out, is there a waiting list for this apartment or this style? Especially if you have a specific location in mind. We have people here that want a certain floor facing a certain area, maybe a certain exposure, a southern exposure, a 2-bedroom. So we try to get people as specific as possible and then let you know, if there's a wait and how long the wait is. That can influence getting on a waiting list and letting us know. So that way, when you are ready, we have something available. With this housing market lately, we've had a lot of people, take advantage of that, sell their homes, sometimes in hours and days. And then they're taking, they may not take their first choice, but they're moving in and then possibly will make a move again in the future, which is always something that you can do. But it is important to know. And then if you are within that 1 to 2 year time frame, maybe think about getting on a waiting list at a community. And I could tell, just to back up, this is smart to do even if you don't think you're ready for a couple years. I once had a couple, not at this community, at another community. They were not ready, younger couple, for 5 to 7 years. They were adamant. And then they asked me to see a certain type of apartment. That apartment happened to be available. So they went down from 5 to 7 years and they moved in 3 months later. They realized that, what are we waiting for? Once I didn't put any pressure on them, I said, okay, your time frame is your time frame. We'll stay in touch. And then they saw an apartment that just really spoke to them and they realized, what are we waiting for? Why are we waiting that long? So you may change your mind. You may not think you're ready for 3 or 4 years, and then a year goes by and then something happens and you decide you want to move. So that is always something I recommend. It's better to be prepared and possibly get on a waiting list, at least, if you're ready in the next year or so. And question 10, the final question, can I have a copy of your disclosure statement and your residency agreement? So when you move into a community, you sign a contract. It's usually called a residence and care agreement. And what it is the contract is everything that we're promising you as a resident, everything that has to do with living in the community. And the disclosure statement is something that is prepared annually. Every community has to have one. It gets filed with the state, and that discloses, among other things, the background of our board of directors, how we operate our community, our audited financial statements, the stability of the community. It has really important information. And even if it's something you don't think you will read yourself, maybe you have a family member, maybe you have an attorney or a financial planner, it's something that is important, and the residency agreement is important for you to look at, a blank copy, because eventually that's what you will sign and be bound to once you move into a community. So if you're asking, can I have a copy of your disclosure statement and your residency agreement? And if that quick answer isn't yes, let me get that for you, I would be a little bit concerned. That should be something readily available. It's something that should be readily available and shared with anyone considering a move to the community. They should be prepared to offer both documents. It is really important. So those are the top 10 questions. We are open. I'm going to unmute everybody in just a moment. We are open to visits. We do have 2 in-person events coming up in September. And make sure to follow up with details on those events, and we'll be having more in October and November, as long as the Delta variant doesn't ruin everything. You can always visit our website. We have interactive floor plans. We have interactive budget, a budget section where you can compare your cost of where you're living now to what it would cost here. But if you wanted to come in for an in-person visit, we're also open for those as well, which is nice because we can then tailor the visit to you. So I am going to unmute everyone. Let's see, mute all. I'm going to work. Let's see if I can unmute you. I think you guys might have to unmute yourselves. Okay, Monica's unmuted, Shelley's unmuted. One more. So, are there any questions about anything I covered or PPH?
No, not that I can think of offhand.
Okay. Are there any questions I didn't think of that you would think of when you visit, or if you have visited a community?
Now, can we have a copy of this, like, mailed to us? Because, I'm only working off a little tablet, and it's not going to stay on this tablet for long.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I can actually print out this presentation and I can mail it to you, as well as information. I'll make sure to mail everyone a brochure if you don't already have one. Certainly, I can do that.
And this is Shelley. I'd like that also, a brochure.
Sure, Shelley. Now, when you filled out your information, did you give me your mailing addresses?
Presume so.
Okay, great. I will, if not, I'll email you, but I will send you a brochure, and then I'll print out this presentation as well. I'll be sure to do that.